Alright, I want to show you how to make a Prusik knot. And if you remember, our Prusik knots are made from what we might call Prusik loops. Sometimes we call these slings or runners, something like that. But essentially we're going to take this loop of rope and we're going to make it cinch around a bigger piece of rope. And I'll show you why that can be useful in a minute. So the first thing you do is you take your Prusik loop and you want to make sure that the fisherman's knot that you use to make this loop is not at the very ends where you would pull it tight with your fingers, but more isolated towards the middle. You don't want it at the ends where your fingers are. Okay. Next step is to take your larger rope and push a bite of that Prusik loop behind the larger rope, and then push the rest of the Prusik loop through the loop you just made behind the rope. Okay, one time, and then push it through a second time. And what you'll end up with is a Prusik knot. And remember, always dress the knot. Make sure that it's nice and in shape and even, and nothing's that's not meant to cross over anything is crossing over anything. And what you end up with is something that looks like that. Okay, so that's nice and symmetric, and that's the back side. Okay, and so the reason this knot is nice is when it's not loaded, it slides nicely along this other rope. But when you put a load on it and pull, it cinches, it tightens up. All those coils tighten up and it cinches up. Okay, so I'll tie it one more time for you so you can see it. Okay, again, we take our Prusik cords, we isolate our fisherman's knot somewhere not on the ends where our fingers are, put a loop behind the cord or behind the rope to which we want to cinch the Prusik cord to, and then push a bite of the cord through the loop once, wrap it around, push it through the same loop again. So you've wrapped it twice. You can also do a 3-wrap Prusik. Be much stronger but much harder to undo if it's under load. And again, there's the knot. And it's going to hold if you put it under stress, but if you don't, it slides nicely. Okay. So when might you use this? Let's assume that we have this Prusik cord, and we swap this big rope out for this little rope. And so let's imagine that you are pulling somebody out of a crevasse, and you have an anchor system set up with your Prusik cord attached to the rescue rope, and you are pulling this person out of a crevasse. You're pulling and pulling and pulling, and then let's say that you let go or something else happens in your system, and all of a sudden this rope wants to pull this way with the load on the other end. If this Prusik knot is tied correctly and it's anchored correctly, it's going to catch that fall. So not only will you not lose all the progress that you made, that you worked hard to do to get that person out, most importantly, they don't fall down farther in the crevasse because that Prusik knot, if anchored properly into the snow with a picket or an ice screw, will catch them. Okay? All right, so work on your Prusik knots.